Welcome back to Girl Take the Lead. Oh, and welcome to 2026. So, we're the podcast where we explore the real, raw, and remarkable stories of people breaking cycles, finding their voice, and leading with courage. And I'm your host, Canny. And if you're listening to this as we step into the brand new year, welcome to 2026. A fresh chapter, a clean page, and maybe a moment to pause and ask ourselves how we really want to lead, live, and show up with intention. Mm. Today's conversation feels like the perfect way to begin the year. I'm thrilled to welcome Erin Krueger, a nationally recognized real estate leader, best-selling author, speaker, and founder of one of the most successful all-female real estate teams in the country. Erin's team has sold more than $2 billion in real estate and nearly $225 million in 2024 alone. And what truly sets her apart is how she leads. Erin is the author of Capture the Culture, a book that goes far beyond business strategy. It's a deeply personal story of resilience, intentional leadership, mentorship, and creating environments at home and at work where people feel valued, supported, and empowered to grow. In this episode, Erin shares how her early life shaped her leadership style, why culture doesn't happen by accident, and how authentic appreciation can become one of the most powerful tools a leader has. We also talk about mentorship, the evolution of confidence, meaningful hustle, and her team's beautiful mantra: some days are dirt, but most days are diamonds. Yeah. This conversation is grounding, energizing, and deeply human, and a powerful reminder that leadership isn't about titles or perfection. It's how we make people feel, how we show up on the hard days, and how we choose to lead when no one's watching. Let's jump in. Here you go. So, Erin, welcome to Girl Take the Lead. We
Thank
are
you.
going to have a terrific conversation to kick off the new year. So, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah. So, why don't we start? If you would please introduce yourself to our viewers and listeners so they get a sense of your background and your book a little bit.
Yep, absolutely. Um, my name is Erin Krueger. I'm out of Nashville, Tennessee, and my profession, I'm a realtor. And I also am an author, and I have a new book called Capture the Culture. And really, what I do, every day I sell beautiful homes all over the Nashville area, but I have the most amazing team of all female realtors. And one of the questions that I get asked, because we've had so much success not only in Nashville, but nationally, is how you have such a small dynamic team that produces results of teams that are 3 to 5 times your size.
Mhm.
Um, and that is kind of what I have focused on, which is the culture of my team and what I ultimately decided to write about in my book.
Mm. So, tell us a little bit more about it. Why you wrote the book, um, and what you hope people walk away after they've read it.
So the book is much more than just a business book. It's a book about overcoming adversity. My background, I kind of opened the book up with my story. And I had a very tragic, accident that happened to my family. And I think in life, things happen to us, and we have to decide as a person which way we're going to go, right?
Mhm.
Um, I really believe that, we have to grieve and we have to go through the process to be able to heal ourselves, but we cannot live there. We have to keep moving and we have to choose the direction that we're going to go. And so this book takes you on my personal journey of being a 21-year-old trying to graduate college and then this accident happening, and how I navigate and decide to kind of move through life, and how my early childhood and the tools that my parents gave me helped shape the person that I am. But not only that, but the leader that I am. And they had no idea at the time what they were doing.
Yeah.
And so they led things through culture, even in our household.
Hmm.
Instead of saying, I grew up on a farm, a cattle farm, and instead of my dad saying, get up, it's 5 a.m., it's time to go to the farm, it's time to work, he would come down the hallway and he would say, do you want to help, Dad?
God.
That tweak of positioning, right,
God, of
is
course.
it helps me as a leader. Can you help me on this?
Yeah.
I need some assistance on this. Would you be available to give me your opinion? Instead of, just coming out very bluntly and you have to do this or whatever.
Or
Making
pretending, right, that you know it all.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Making you a partner in the process
Hmm.
um, really leads to different results. I think my dad knew that without ever knowing what he was doing.
Yeah.
I felt like the farm manager. I felt important. I felt that I was an integral part of the day. And
Yeah.
there were things like that throughout my life that I learned from them, my parents. And it really has allowed me to be the type of leader that I am and be able to have the most amazing team of women.
Yeah. Well, is there a particular chapter or area of the book that you just hope, oh, I want everyone to read this? Because I went through and I couldn't choose. There were too many good things. And we're going to cover some of that today, but
You
um,
know, I think there is a section in the book where I talk about mentorship.
mm,
And I think that no matter where you are in life, whether you have big professional dreams, if you are just trying to find your way, starting something new, wherever you are, you need to have a mentor.
mm,
And I think that the section when I talk about Ed and Susan. Susan was a real estate mentor of mine. She actually sold me my first home when I moved to Nashville. But then Ed, who was the business guru. I mean, he used to be a vice president of Pillsbury. He brought tons of companies public.
mhm.
And he, went to Harvard. He was just a brainiac, just so smart. And one day he asked me a question that changed the trajectory of my life. And he said, you're much more than a realtor, you're an entrepreneur. And he said, you need to go to law school or go get your MBA. What are you going to do? And I said, I'm a realtor. What do you mean? What am I going to do? I don't need to go do that because it's not like I work for myself. I'm not going to get a promotion. He said, oh no, you will get a promotion because you believe in yourself and knowledge is power. The more you read, the more you do, the more you are going to be able to seize opportunities when they're right in front of you that somebody else wouldn't recognize.
Mm.
And that's personal and professional, right? When you're out there and you're learning more and you're seeing more, you're open to more things and opportunities happen. And so I really think a lot of people miss that ingredient is finding really great mentors that can help shape your life. I mean, I feel as though I'm a mentor to so many people on my team.
Yeah.
And I know that they're going to spread their wings one day and leave because that's
Mhm.
what happens. That's part of the evolution of somebody growing.
Yeah.
So it's about that and coming to terms with that when you are the mentor and then as the mentee learning to soak up and be a sponge.
Yeah. Well, I can just see you extending your hand to help everyone else up um and to share like you're doing today with
Yes.
so many people. So, your first chapter is all about building intentionality. And I think going into the new year, we can look at being more intentional with how we approach things. And what are some tips there or some guides that you might give us going into the new year?
I think that I made a lot of mistakes, early on. And I think that I learned the hard way of what not to do. And then one day I woke up And I said, I need to get it together, right? In business and just, I got to get some stuff together. I have to have a process. I have to
Mhm.
have a system that's going to work for me.
Mhm.
And so I started to imagine what the ideal team and business would look like for me. It's kind of like painting the picture of what you want your life to be, right? What person you want as your partner in life, people you want to surround yourself, what kind of environment you want to ultimately have. And I started to like really hash it out. And I went and I found those people and I interviewed for those positions. And it didn't
Uh-huh.
happen overnight,
Yeah.
but that is how you build something, you know, really like, strategically to make sure that you are going to create this vision that you really have for yourself and ultimately your team. For me, it was I want to do good work. I want to have clients that refer me by word of mouth because obviously your business grows by doing
Mhm.
that. But I can't do it all when the business grows. I can't be that one person all the time to serve all these clients. There's only 24 hours in a day, and I'm not
Right.
working 24 hours. I need to sleep, right?
Mhm.
And so to find those people that can do the systems and process, but put their own personality and spin on it, can make sure that the work never suffers
Mhm.
and that we're doing things the way that I originally painted this picture to be, right? And it doesn't mean that feedback isn't going to be given,
Or course corrected here and
right?
there and pivot.
Exactly. And I talk about that. I talk about we put our goals in a team in pen and we, write our pathway in pencil,
Mhm.
because economic environments happen,
Yeah.
you know, um, you know, from my industry, you have, rate increases and you have things like that and, tariffs and all of those type of things and economic environments challenge what you're doing on a daily basis in any business.
Yeah.
And so you have to focus on what you're doing and motivating the people around you to do good work and to get back to the basics because a lot of times in my business, we're in sales. A lot of the answers to a lot of doing the work and doing the sales is touching, the clients and checking in on them
Mhm.
and saying, I was just in your neighborhood. Your porch looks so cute. And before you know it, they're talking about, hey, I'm thinking about a renovation or maybe we should actually move. What do you think? Come over and take a look at this, and have opportunities like that. So I really think that people need to be very intentional with their business.
Mhm.
And I say that not only do you need to be intentional, but you need to be authentic
Yeah.
because fakeness, people can sense a mile away. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know what's more ugly than somebody that's fake.
Yeah.
I think that people sense when you really look them in the eye and you care,
Yeah.
you invest time in them, and people want to be around positive people who shoot them straight, who they believe in, who they want to be around, and they want to work with you.
Yeah. Trust you.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So you have an assessment tool,
I do.
and I'm wondering if you can kind of we'll put it into the show notes maybe so that people can actually see it or a way to see it. But I think it would be interesting to them for you to kind of describe it and how you use that tool.
Yeah. So, my hiring process is really for me has been tweaked over the years, right? Because I'm always wanting to um, see what works to be able to really figure out who's a culture fit on the team, who's going
Mhm.
to be not only from a work standpoint and be able to really do the job, but also be able to mesh in well with everybody else. Because if you surround yourself with great people, great things happen.
Yeah.
And so one of the tools that we end up reviewing is called the DISC profile. And so on every single job opening that we have, there are directions on the job description and it says send in your resume, your references, and the DISC profile to my director of operations. And so many people will email us and say, "Where do you get the disc profile?" Well, that's the first test of the interview before you ever have the interview, because
Right.
you can Google it and you can get the free disc profile. And the disc profile is a really great personality um, quiz that
Hmm.
is taken when you take it, and there's several free versions online, but you can take it and you can answer these questions based upon the work setting. If you take the questions based on your personal setting, that will be different. My disc profile is very different at work than how I am at home, right? I think
Right.
all of us are
Right.
kind of different in that respect. But there are, different definitions for the disc. So the D is the dominant personality, right? Most likely the leader, right?
I wouldn't know.
They like us things a certain way. They have a certain vision of things, right?
Mhm.
The I, okay, this is the person who's the influential person. This is the person that on my team is that salesperson, hasn't met a stranger, can go and talk to anybody. That is that person. They are a great buyer's agent, right? And
Uh-huh.
then you've got your person who is the S. That is your steady person, okay? That is the person that is like my director of operations. I'm like hyped on some entrepreneurial dream. Let's do this division. I've got this idea, and she's just even keeled. If I'm stressed out, if I'm super bouncing off the wall, whatever it may be,
Yeah.
she is that just steady, that constant person, right? And that's somebody who is great in the operations area, right?
Uh-huh.
And then you've got somebody who's the conscientious, the person who likes things just so. Their desk is so organized. They've got little tabs for everything. When you ask something, they know exactly where it is. Their calendar is amazing, right? And so
Right.
that person for me is somebody who is in an admin role for transaction management. They are very organized. They're keeping the files very organized. They're communicating with the vendors and things like that. And so each of these roles, you end up being a blend. Early
Hmm.
in my career, I had a very, very high D. So I would say a very type A personality. Okay. And
Uh-huh.
so it was a very weird one. It had a very high D, a very high I, and a mid-level C. So I had the organization, but I had that dominance, but I was also never met a stranger and I could go and talk to them. As
Right.
my career changed and as I grew as a leader, my D ended up coming down a little bit. Not a little bit, a lot actually. It came down to just under half. And what I learned by that is that that allowed me to let others step up and flourish,
Mm,
right? And
nice.
I learned to delegate. I learned that I didn't have to do everything, that I can
Yeah.
hire the right people to fill those roles. And so I keep this folder, and it's actually pretty old school. It's a paper folder with goals and disc profile results. And these are people that have been on my team for 7, 8, 9, 10 years. And
Yeah.
to see, their goals every single year change and how they've hit them. And then to see their disc profile when they first started with me
And how
to
it's
where they
changed.
are now. I had somebody whose confidence was completely shattered. She was hot off of a divorce,
Mm,
probably 90 pounds, soaking wet, just crushed when she
mm.
came on board. And I just saw something was about her that she just wanted more for herself and her kids and things like that. And I'll tell you now, she is a boss lady. You know,
Isn't
she
that great?
she has done just an amazing about turn for herself. She's in love. She is, owns investment property. She's as smart as a whip. Her clients adore her, and she is the mentor on our team that so many of our young agents look up to. And to
Wow.
see that change over all of these years is probably one of the most fulfilling things as a leader and a manager
Hmm.
that I can see, that I can be
Yeah.
part of, which is very special.
Well, it seems like the tool helps you not only define your team, but then as your team grows personally, that there's room for them to
Absolutely.
move, right?
Yes, you have
Because,
to
of,
have that.
yeah.
You have to have a So the one thing a lot of people say to me is, okay, Erin, it's amazing. You have this great team. You seem like you're all having a lot of fun and you're doing great work. Aren't you all exhausted all the time because obviously working a lot. What they don't understand is that you have to have the value proposition of your team and you
Mhm.
need to have a pathway for people for success. And just because they start with you here doesn't mean that they're not going to be here and here. And in fact, today I ended up giving a big raise and a promotion to one of my team members, and it brought her to tears. Like she didn't
Mhm.
expect it, but she's done such a great job,
Yeah.
and it gave her the opportunity for growth to double her salary,
Mm.
but it's all at the end of the day, it's up to them. I can give everybody all the opportunities in the world, but you have to empower people to do it and want it for themselves as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Mm. So well said. So one of the things that seems to be, that we can expect into 2026 is still a very rapid pace of change, especially driven by a lot of AI opportunities. And you talk a little bit about the hustle culture. And I'm wondering if you could read from your book some of like that one section. I think it's about, it goes on for a little bit, but about 3 paragraphs or so. So we capture your dad's footsteps in there. That was so cool how you worked that in.
All right. So it says hustle culture. Many think negatively when they hear the term hustle. They envision people burning themselves out, abandoning their families, and facing million detrimental health effects. But you don't get big things and big opportunities unless you work hard. And I believe you can have a hustle culture without sacrificing your health or your family. First, my hustle culture doesn't revolve around money. That's a byproduct. What's important to me is service. And as I mentioned, my parents emphasized giving 110%. My dad didn't do anything halfway, yet he still managed to make the hustle meaningful. I remember hearing my dad's footsteps as he came in to wake me up at 5 in the morning. He never said, "Let's go, time for work." Instead, he asked, "Do you want to help dad today?" And together we would walk down to the cold barn. Dad would flip on the lights, and before we touched anything else, he switched on the radio to the oldies station, reached out his hand, and he and I would do the jitterbug.
So
That's my kind of hustle. At 5:15, I felt revived because I laughed with my dad and I was ready to help for the day. A
mm,
good hustle makes it fun even when the job is tough. It means you're thankful for the smallest things.
mm. What are some key points that you would like for us to take away from that passage? And besides loving your dad, who we all wish we could know, he just sounds like a terrific guy. But I think you're offering us something about a work ethic and working hard is okay. And
Yeah. Yeah. I think that there's been a lot of talk about, you know, if you say, "Oh, I'm hustling," "Oh, if I'm busy," or whatever, it's a bad thing. It's
mm,
not necessarily a bad thing. I think you need to check yourself. I think that you need to make sure you have your priorities in straight, in
mm,
line. I think that you need to be able to have boundaries too, because you got to be careful. That's where I think things can go off the rails. But I think that, in today's culture, not every day is a good day, right? Not every day is a good day. It's kind of like we have 24 hours in the day and you have a 1 hour conversation or a 1 hour meeting with a client that's not good. Are you going to let them destroy the rest of the 23 hours of the day?
mm,
Right. And so for me, it's all about how we approach life, how we show up for each other, and how we surround ourselves with people who basically take the jitterbug approach, you know, at 5:15 when you're tired and you're half asleep still and you're walking into a dark barn. I tell you what, I always felt revived. I always felt better because it made me feel positive. It made me feel happy and it made me feel revived to start the day. And I think that goes back to the people that you surround yourself and the approach that you commit yourself to doing with the people that you work with or the family that you have. I mean, this
Yeah.
was a family situation that I'm writing about.
Hmm.
He made everything fun. Even when I would throw the trash away, he would say, "Stand back here. See if you can make, throw that can or that bottle into the trash can." So, everything was like a sport. Everything was fun. Everything was a game.
Yeah.
He made, working on a farm, which sometimes wasn't so glamorous and wasn't always so fun, he would make it fun.
Yeah.
That's the type of thing that I want to be able to bring. Not every day is a good day. Like I said, we have a saying on our team. Some days are dirt, but most days are diamonds. And
Oh,
focus on that.
how cool is that?
Yeah.
So some days are dirt. And then what was the other part? The
Most,
good,
but most days are diamonds.
but most days are diamonds.
I had this team member of mine, super Southern, and she walked in one day and she goes, "Erin, some days are dirt and some days are diamonds." And I said, "Oh my goodness." I said, "That is so good." I said, "That is who we are." Like that is so true because you just when you work with a client that's a diamond,
Hmm.
it's so worth everything that you do, right? It just
Hmm.
it makes you have the joy of why you do what you do to begin with.
Yeah.
Don't let the one dirt, conversation or thing, bring dim your light.
Yeah.
There's another section of my book that I really talk about meaningful appreciation.
Hmm.
That's so important, in having a team, having a family, anything like that is to let people know that they're appreciated. I mean, my husband, I'm so blessed to have a husband. Because I do work and because I do have a team, um, you know, I'm not able to be at home very often, to have dinner ready. But
Hmm.
my husband is that person. He loves to cook and he loves to have, something great. And to just come home and just give him a hug and just say, "I just couldn't do this without you." Like, I'm
Yeah.
just so appreciative for everything that you do for our family.
Hmm.
Like, those are the types of conversations. On the flip side, working and seeing your team members working so hard and seeing them be super mom and after work they're at volleyball games with their kids and trying to be all things to all people and go to the grocery store and things as we all do, to take that moment and put your hand on their hand and say, "You're killing it. I don't know how you do what you do. I'm so thankful you work beside me every day. I couldn't do it
Mm.
without you." Those words are
Yeah.
so impactful. They create loyalty, they create staying power, and they know that you have their back. And
Yeah.
people want to feel appreciated, they want to feel supported. And when they have a culture of that, I mean, the work that they do,
Yeah.
that's why when you ask them to help you, they're like, "Yes, of course. What do you need?"
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that is so terrific. I was reflecting on just some of my own experiences, and it does make me a little sad that I never quite had that kind of appreciation. And I think sometimes in corporate settings, big ones, that people can take on certain personas, and it's not a kind, appreciative environment. Um, but it gives me such hope hearing you and knowing that we're kicking off our 2026 with this, because it gives us a different way to look at this.
Yeah. And you can be, I think people make a big mistake in leadership and management that they feel like there has to be this veil
Mm-hmm.
um of like I feel as though I am a very like vulnerable leader in the sense that, I've given reviews and I've told them right there, probably in the HR handbook, it's probably very wrong to say, "You've changed my life, you've made my life better, and I like couldn't do this without you," right? Trying like telling them basically how indispensable they are, right? But
Yeah.
it's not going to take advantage of you.
Yeah.
you're authentic and you truly mean it, and they feel like they're building something with you and together. And so there's nothing wrong with having that approach and having the humanistic approach to it,
Yeah.
because people will outperform, people that check in and check out. I don't want people that check in and check out. I want people that care and that want to be there and want to be a part of it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's so great. Well, you create that environment and that culture. One of the things that I loved was the way that you kind of ended with the Emerson quote
Yeah.
and um and what it says about success. And I'm wondering if you wouldn't mind reading that for us because that was so cool.
Yeah, this I actually got this. It's funny, at my dad's funeral, I ended up getting a card with this quote on it.
Oh.
And it was one of those things where it was just an acquaintance who sent me this card, but on the front of it was this quote from Ralph Waldo Emerson.
Mhm.
And this stuck with me at 21 years old about what the definition of success is. And it changed my outlook on what success is. And so
Yeah.
I'll read that to you.
Yeah.
What is success? To laugh often and much, to win the respect of intelligent people and the affection of children, to earn the appreciation of honest critics and endure the betrayal of false friends, to appreciate the beauty, to find the best in others, and to leave the world a bit better, whether by a healthy child, a garden patch, or a redeemed social condition, to know even one life has breathed easier because you have lived. This is to have succeeded.
Mm. Yeah. Oh boy. So good. I think everyone's going to kind of want to work for you, Erin. So you better be prepared. Maybe you can tell our listeners how they can follow you and where they can find your book.
Yeah. Well, my book, Capture the Culture, is right here. It's Amazon, anywhere books are sold, you can find it online. Audiobooks are out, so you could listen to us on Audible. I am narrating it. So if you want to listen to my voice for a couple hours and talking about these things, you can give it a listen. You can find me, of course, I sell real estate on Instagram, so the Erin Krueger team, and you can see my wonderful team and the culture that we create. I also have an Instagram for the book, and I have a website for the book, capture-the-culture.com. That is going to be very helpful for some of your listeners who are trying to be better leaders and better managers. And I have a lot of free quizzes.
Mhm.
Some people think they are the best leaders in the entire world, and their team members and their employees do not think so. And so we have some things for you to take a quiz on what kind of leader you think you are. And then we even have downloadable surveys that you can send to your employees that are anonymous to find out what they think.
Mm.
Feedback is a gift. And so what you do with that information is the true cut and measure of a leader, because sometimes we need to check ourselves. There's a chapter in the book where I dropped the ball and I learned from it.
Mhm.
And, I had to apologize and learn from it. And that's all we can do as managers and bosses, and partners, is that we have to recognize what we did. We
Mhm.
have to say our sorry, and we have to create a pathway to not make the same mistake again.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
So we have to do that in business and in life. And if we follow that,
Absolutely.
we're not perfect. We make mistakes. I talk about my mistakes in here. Um,
Yeah.
and people, all they want is accountability. They want people to be, be the coach and be accountable for them. But people want you to say, I'm sorry if you did something wrong. And then they're
Yeah.
okay with it. It's the person who doesn't own up to things that's where things fester. That's where culture dies. And so you have to be a leader who can recognize that.
Mm.
So there's a lot of great tools that are for free on the site. And then in the book, I spent a lot of time developing the hiring process, and there's a lot of great questions when you're interviewing people for your team to figure out if they're going to be a good culture fit.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Well, definitely. I think a lot of our listeners are going to be checking that out. So, this is the question I ask all my guests. Erin, what would you tell your 20 something self today?
oh my goodness. I would tell them that difficult days don't define you. What
Mm,
you do with them does, to keep moving forward and that better days are ahead.
mm, so beautifully said. Love it. And I think you got a chance to go to the card store. And can you tell our listeners what spoke to you?
The butterfly. Of course.
Yeah, of
I
course.
think I feel like that speaks to me in general,
Yeah,
right? So, absolutely.
definitely.
Thank you.
Oh, because you have courageous wings as well. So that's just so great.
Thank you.
Thank you, Erin, for joining us and kicking us off into 2026. Who knows how the year will go,
Who
but,
knows?
but we
Some
can
days
all
are
hold
dirt, some days
hands.
are going to be diamonds. So buckle up,
Exactly.
right?
Let's all buckle up. I love it. All right. Thank you so much. What a powerful way to begin the new year. Can I just use the horn one more time because it's pretty fun? Hey. My heartfelt thanks to Erin for such an honest, generous, and inspiring conversation. One that reminds us that leadership doesn't have to be cold, rigid, or performative to be effective. Erin shows us that culture is created in the small moments, in how we ask for help, how we appreciate one another, how we own our mistakes, and how we make even the hard work meaningful. Whether she was talking about mentorship, intentionality, appreciation, or her team's reminder that most days are diamonds, Erin offers a vision of leadership that feels both strong and deeply human. If you'd like to connect with Erin, explore her work, or find her book, check our show notes. Here's three key takeaways from today's episode. One, culture is a choice. It's something we design intentionally, not something we leave to chance. Two, people thrive when they feel seen and appreciated. Meaningful recognition builds loyalty, trust, and staying power. And three, difficult days don't define us. What we do with them does, and better days really are ahead. As always, thank you for listening, for sharing these conversations, and for being part of this community who are finding their voice, breaking cycles, and leading with their heart. Next week, we'll be joined by Tiffany Irving, Senior Vice President and Wealth Advisor, for a conversation about financial literacy across generations, the beliefs we inherit about money, and what Tiffany calls the breadwinner mold. With more than 25 years of experience advising high net worth individuals, families, and nonprofits, Tiffany brings both expertise and insights into how money stories shape our confidence, choices, and leadership, especially for women. We'll explore generational trends, financial power, and how redefining our relationship with money can open new possibilities. Until then, lead with intention. Appreciate the people beside you, and remember, most days really are diamonds. Talk to you soon. Bye.